Warhammer 40k Space Marine came out 13 years ago, as of this video's upload. To Warhammer fans, it was an excellent 40k game that captured the grim dark future of 40k's universe. To everyone else, it was a mid at best hack and slasher with very obvious problems. As well, its developer THQ shut down not even a year after the release due to financial difficulties and poor marketing decisions. Like the U-Drop ad!
For your Wii. Create. Play. Explore. Powered by your Wii controller. Just dock it and you're ready to go.
I'd say whoever came up with this idea got fired, but yeah. For a while after that, 40k games were in a rut, with many titles being shovelware, unfinished, or just quick cash grabs in most cases. However, in recent years, with the release of games like Mechanicus, Rogue Trader, and Darktide, we are seeing a resurgence of 40k games hitting the mainstream. The biggest one, however, was Space Marine 2. Space Marine 2 was announced back in 2021, and it was a very welcome sight for 40k fans, and intrigued those who were either casually aware of Warhammer, or had no idea what it was. The people leading this project was Saber Entertainment, and it was published by Focus Entertainment. The game would continue the story that left us off on a cliffhanger back in 2011, which was great! Finally, a great game is getting to continue its story! Now, originally, Space Marine 2 was set to come out in 2022, but it got delayed twice, leading us to Space Marine 2 releasing on September 9th, 2024. Though if you pre-ordered the game, you got to play it 4 days early, which I assume was an apology for delaying the game twice. I did pay to play it early. I am a 40k fanboy, and normally I wouldn't pre-order a game, but this was an exception to my rule. As I played through the game, though, it made me realize how right my opinion was about the first game. This is clearly a better game than the original, no mistake, but there are major things holding it back. A lot of it comes from the story and the decisions they made with the online, and of course, the Battle Pass. But let's not waste any time. It's been 13 years for us, so let's get into Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. Just a note, I will be using footage from my stream, so my face cam and chat will be overlaid on the gameplay sometimes. Space Marine 2 is set during an event in 40k called the Leviathan Invasion. A hive mind alien race known as the Tyranids is invading the western part of the galaxy and is pressing the Imperium of Man on all fronts. We are taking part in this massive defense in the system known as Residus. I know the names are ridiculous, just roll with it. And we start out as a member of a special operations group called Deathwatch. As we try to do an aerial insertion, the Tyranids knock us out of our gunship, causing our ship to crash as we freefall to the planet below. This leads us into our tutorial mission. Now, Space Marine 2 is a third-person hack and slasher, much like Space Marine 1 was. However, there have been some major mechanical changes from the original. Space Marine 2 introduces a parry system. When an enemy has a blue circle around them, you can parry their attack. However, should the enemy have an orange circle, you will need to dodge it. Should you successfully do either perfectly, you can stun an enemy and deliver a quick headshot to them, or perform what is called a glory kill, depending on what prompts appear. Glory kills are from the original game, but don't work the same way they used to. In the first game, you used glory kills to restore lost health, but you weren't invincible while doing it, so it left you open to being killed while performing it. In Space Marine 2, it only restores health that is left over as a white bar after damage, but it also restores your shields. Small enemies restore 1 shield pip, medium enemies restore 2 shield pips, and large enemies restore 3. As well, you are invincible while performing these moves, making this a much better system than the original had. The game wants you to get used to this mechanic quickly, as damage is much more punishing on the player. Your shields will get depleted fast, and dodging isn't always going to save you. As well, the game doesn't tell you, but you can parry melee attacks that are not highlighted. It also doesn't tell you that you can break open crates and boxes to get more ammo and grenades. Missed the mark on that one, Saber. As we fight through the area to reach our kill team, we hear that our team is being overrun, but that our special package, which is a virus bomb, is still intact. So we retrieve it and head to the launch facility to get the missile ready. Once it's ready, our Marine launches it into orbit, and the virus starts doing its work. But the bugs on the ground swarm our position, and our Marine is knocked off the ramparts, and when his helmet is knocked off, it reveals Titus, the main character from the first game.
Oh my god, he's so beautiful! He's
Titus makes his final stand fighting off hordes of Tyranids until he's eventually bested and mortally wounded by a Tyranid known as a Carnifex. But before the giant bug can finish us off, reinforcements arrive and save us, leading to a 2-day time skip. 2 days later, Titus wakes up to a Ghost Rider! Nah, just kidding. This is a chaplain, a sort of spiritual leader for Space Marines. He tells us that Titus's time with the Death Watch is over, and that he has been reassigned back to the Ultramarines chapter. As well, that he has been upgraded to a Primaris Marine to save his life. For those that don't know, at the end of Space Marine 1, Titus was accused of heresy by a subordinate and was imprisoned by the Imperial Inquisition. Turns out that accusation had been false, but because of it, Titus was stuck as a black shield inside the Death Watch for the past century. Now that Titus is back, the chaplain fills him in that the Ultramarines chapter master has reinstated him, but that Titus has to keep what happened to him on the down low. As with the Tyranid invasion, the men he will be deployed with don't need to be second-guessing him or their officers if this information got out. He also informs us that we have been demoted down to the rank of lieutenant. After a really cool cutscene showing us being armed for war, we are introduced to Captain Acheron, our new superior officer, along with our new squad leader, Sergeant Gadriel, and a member of said squad, Chiron. The meeting is frosty, to say the least, as Titus is warned by Acheron that he needs to be careful, as some people are just looking for an excuse to exile him again, and Gadriel is suspicious of his new lieutenant. This leads us to our first real mission, where our squad is assigned to take back an orbital gun that has been overrun by the Tyranids. So first, we are deployed to the front line to help the local Imperial Guard forces push back a Tyranid assault. Which, holy shit, I just want to say this, they got the Tyranids so right in this game. So let's quickly go over their units. The smallest Tyranids are called Gaunts. They come in ranged and melee variants, and they will swarm the field. The melee Gaunts can be parried and will lunge at you, leaving them open for a quick counterattack. Ranged Gaunts will hang back and shoot you, but them hitting you fills a debuff bar, and when the debuff bar is filled, you will be temporarily blinded, so keep an eye out for the bugs in the back. The next bugs they introduce are Warriors. Warriors lead the Gaunts, and should always be your priority target, as not only do they hit hard, but killing them will stun or kill Gaunts, since the Tyranids are a hive mind, and killing the bigger bugs sends a backlash to the lesser bugs. So if you see Warriors, kill them fast. They come in 4 variants: Bone Whip, Dual Bladed, Machine Gun, and Sniper. After defending the Imperial Guard's position, Titus, Gadriel, and Chiron move through the jungle to reach the orbital guns. As we do, Gadriel and Chiron question Titus about, well, Titus clearly not being the part of the first wave of Primaris Marines, and he is a way older Marine. But the conversation is interrupted by a Tyranid variant called a Ravener. Raveners are serpent-like Tyranids who can burrow underground and will try to ambush you and your squad. If it successfully ambushes a player, it will wrap around them and you'll have to match the buttons on screen to break free. But if your squad mates come and attack the Ravener, they can force it off the player ensnared by it. Which reminds me, the campaign can be played online with others. The party leader will take control of Titus, while the other 2 players take control of Gadriel and Chiron. Each member has their own unique ability as well. Titus gets Fury, an ability that heals him and increases his damage output for a short time. Gadriel gets Battle Cry, which does an AoE explosion that pushes enemies back and does damage. Chiron gets Auspex Scan, and enemies caught in the scan will be highlighted, and any attacks that hit them will do double damage. However, playing alone, your CPU allies will rarely, if ever, use these abilities. Fighting through more waves of bugs and through a bunker complex, we group up with a guard platoon and their tank to bust into the gun fortress, which is where we run into another Tyranid variant, the Zoanthrope. Zoanthropes, after this encounter, come in pairs with one shielding the other from damage. While alive, Zoanthropes will also make other Tyranid infantry much harder to kill. But when they die, their psychic backlash is much larger than a warrior. Prioritize them as much as possible, as their attacks can be extremely annoying to deal with. After clearing out the bugs inside and defending the targeting array from a Tyranid counterattack, the defense guns are able to lock on and fire at Tyranid ships in orbit, which means our mission here is done, and we are brought back to the ship for further orders. When we do get back, 2 other members of our squad that we sent off to help the guard report that something that wasn't a regular Gaunt had killed their friend. So that's helpful for the next mission. As we get to the bridge, Captain Acheron assigns us another mission right away. We are to pick up a guy named Archmagos Nozick. He was supposed to evacuate an hour ago, but for some reason he refuses to leave. So we need to get whatever he needs done, then get his cyborg ass on the next jet out of there. But before we leave, we assign a different Marine squad on a mission to support us in the background, and then we visit the Armory. The Armory is where we can choose our loadout for missions. However, until you beat the game, you are stuck using a select few weapons that are recommended for each mission. Which, I have to talk about this now. Space Marine 2 has the same problem as Space Marine 1 did with its weapons. In fact, it got a little worse. Each Marine can now only hold 2 guns, 1 pistol and 1 primary, along with 1 melee weapon, where before we could hold up to 4 guns in a melee weapon. As well, Space Marine 1 had a good variety of guns, whereas Space Marine 2 has 10 variations of the fucking bolt gun and only has 4 melee weapon options, again for the campaign. Yes, there is a melt-a-gun, plasma gun, flamethrower, and the new las fusel, which is just a las can from the first game, but this is really annoying. The 4 melee weapons are a knife, chainsword, power sword, which just replaces the power axe, and Thunderhammer. Yes, there is a power fist in multiplayer, but you can't use it in the campaign, so that doesn't fix the damn problem. How do you even have less options and make 10 variations of the same gun? And even worse, unless it's the heavy bolt rifle or stock bolt rifle, all the bolters feel the same. Now, despite my disappointment at the weapon selection, I will say the weapons feel amazing to use. Their sound and the feel of them are incredible. Again, Saber did an amazing job capturing the design and feel of Warhammer. Back to the story, we meet up with Nozick, and the grouchy bastard says that there is important data back at his research base, and assigns us to go get it. So we hop back into the jungle and run into the members of our squad we talked to in the hangar. And they are dead! From a Tyranid Lictor! Which ambushes us on the way to the research center, giving us our first boss fight! Lictors are special assassin bugs that are able to go invisible and crawl on walls. They will try to single out a player, and when that player is relatively alone, it will try to do an orange attack. Once it's on the ground, it will go invisible again, and try to make quick swipes before backing off. Make sure your parrying game is on point. After this boss fight, Lictors will become advanced enemies, like Raveners and Zoanthropes. After we murder the stealthy assassin bug, we are able to get to Nozick's lab, and get stuck dealing with Ripper Swarms. Ripper Swarms only appear in this mission, but the little bastards swarm all over you and your squad. The only solution to stopping them is killing bigger bugs to scare them off, or use the Pyre Blaster. So, using the big-ass flamethrower, we burn the bugs out of the lab and are able to get Nozick his data. Good! Now get off the planet, you annoying Windows 97 bastard!
Nozick! Will they hit? Lirio, do you read me? Major, did you see what happened?
No idea! We saw no impact!
That is territory claimed by the swarms. We need to reach him, fast.
Come the fuck on! Yeah, so with the gunship being knocked out of the sky, we get ourselves some jetpacks and go off to try and secure the crash site. Jetpacks in Space Marine 1 were great to use. The jetpack launches you forward and up, then you come crashing down to Earth. It's the same way here, but with some added mechanics. While in the air, you can hover for a short period of time, allowing you to get some shots off before crashing down to Earth. Or you can do a quick air dash to cross large gaps. Now the problem becomes that the jump pack button is the same as your special ability. So I recommend mapping your special ability button to your mouse, as a lot of these new movements can be hampered by a keyboard for now. After fighting through the jungle and blowing up a Tyranid hive, we get to the crash site and... oh no! Someone pulled out the crayons! Yeah, so the forces of chaos are here, and not only did they draw on the goddamn walls, but they killed Nozick. But for some reason left the package he was carrying behind. Which is... odd. Even more odd, however, being close to the package causes Titus to collapse and black out.
Called it.
Back on the ship, the chaplain, Gadriel, and Chiron give concern to us passing out, but Titus says he's fine, though he is worried that the package was giving off the same vibes of a thing he dealt with years ago. But regardless, Acheron has a new mission for us. With the death of Nozick, his project was handed down to his apprentice Luz, so we are tasked to go find him and bring him back to the ship. So we head to the hive world of Kadaku, while also keeping our eyes open for any chaos bullshit. Getting to the high spires of Kadaku, holy hell, this game looks fucking amazing. I can't say it enough, but damn it, Saber, you made a game that looks fucking gorgeous and captures Warhammer perfectly. From the jungles, to the bases, to the highest spires, to even characters walking around or fighting. Saber did an amazing job capturing the atmosphere of Warhammer 40k. Side note, it's also been amusing watching people who are brand new to 40k react to the horrible fucked up things within it, like the flying dead baby cyborgs called cherubs. Again, just showing that when it comes to the Grim Darkness universe of 40k, Saber absolutely nailed it. Much like I am nailing these bugs with heavy bolter rounds.
Good.
Back on track, we are able to break our way into the facility where Luz was last located, and after fighting another Carnifex and killing it this time, we find that Luz isn't here. However, instead of leaving, Titus uses his clearance codes to access records that will tell us what was in the container from earlier. And it's the weapon from Space Marine 1. For those not in the loop, the plot of Space Marine 1 revolved around an unstable power source that an Inquisitor by the name of Drogon found in the warp. He tried to use the power source to make a super weapon, however the forces of chaos managed to track him down, kill him, and use his super weapon to open a warp portal. At the end of the first game, Titus was able to destroy the weapon, but it appears that Nozick and Luz were able to rebuild it. So yeah, now we know why the forces of chaos are here. But why didn't they take the power source when they had the chance? It opens up lots of questions for later, as we are forced to stop the Tyranids from destroying a generator that could cause massive damage to the hive world if it blows up. So after doing that, we are picked up, and though we bring up the problem to Acheron, he shuts it down, as this project was greenlit by the higher-ups, and our only objective is to retrieve Luz. We know where he is now, though, so we are being sent down again to go get him. After a landing we could walk away from, along with Gadriel and Chiron grilling Titus more about his past, we are retasked to take out a Tyranid variant called a Neurothrope, which leads to an annoying-ass boss fight, as the Neurothrope has AoE attacks and can fuck with your vision. But after killing it, we hitch a ride on a transport to a massive dome where Luz is located. Once we get inside, a guardsman unit is standing around around doing nothing, which is highly sus. And when we tell the guardsmen to call the superior, it turns out they were the imposter! Yep, my favorite Legion is in the game, and though on stream I scream like an excited fangirl to my Dusty Boys being in the game, I have a lot of problems with these guys in the story upon replaying it. And their problems are way worse than Chaos back in the first game, but we will get to that later. The Thousand Suns and Space Marine 2 mechanically fit their playstyle from the tabletop game and their fluff. Cultists are extremely weak chaff units, easily able to be killed by literally running them over, but they have a charge shot that can drain your shields quickly. Zangors are a pure melee unit, coming with or without shields, who act a lot like melee gaunts, but their shields can block most attacks, so you'll need to stun them with heavy attacks to get the kill. Rubrics are interesting, as they come in two variants, Bolter and Flamethrower. Both can teleport around the field and will punish you if you get greedy. As well, hits from them will build up a debuff, and when the debuff is fully filled, your vision will be filled with tons of illusions. Attacking them does nothing. However, you can find the real ones by paying attention to where your teammates are shooting, or if the ones shooting at you do damage, since the illusions cannot hurt you at all. Then there are the big boys, the Rubric Terminators. These heavy-hitting lads come with a Stormbolter and sword, or missiles and a minigun. The Stormbolter/sword variant is extremely aggressive, using dash moves to close the gap with you and deal devastating damage. And if you try to take advantage of a dodge parry, they will just shoot you right back, so be careful. Missile variants will hang back and try to force you to play a bullet hell. They can still hit really hard in melee, but it's easier to parry them, so close that gap as fast as possible. Finally, we have the Sorcerer. These guys will hide behind everyone and try to snipe you with magic beams. As well, they are protected by a barrier, and smacking it in melee will just bounce you off of it. Destroy the shield from range, then go bully the magic nerd in close combat, since he sucks in melee combat. If you don't kill them fast enough though, they will try to revive dead Rubric Marines and Terminators, so don't let them. To be honest, I love how the Thousand Suns look and play in this game. Saber nailed down the movement of the Rubric Marines and Terminators as they are animated suits of armor. Just watching them move around and react to me was always a treat. Plus, I'm just stupid happy that my favorite faction from 40k is in the game. Back to the story, after Chiron goes ballistic and gets a quick chewing out from Titus, we are able to break through the Thousand Suns' defenses and interrupt a ritual. We find Luz and bring him back to our ship. Though Titus confronts him about the weapon, but Luz tells us that he has the blessing of the Primarch Robu Guilliman to do this. So until that changes, we are kinda stuck. After that little argument, we are called to the bridge, and Titus suggests contacting Chapter Command to warn them about the danger of the weapon. However, Acheron reveals that the Tyranids are attacking the communications array, and it's impossible to get a message out. Titus, however, formulates a plan, and says if we kill a Tyranid known as the Hive Tyrant, we can clear the way to the comms array and get our message out. So Acheron sends down 3 teams. Titus' team will secure the comms center, another team will hunt down traitors jamming local comms, and the third team will hunt down the Hive Tyrant. So Titus and his team deploy immediately to the comms array, but Gadriel is not doing so hot. With Titus acting erratic, his past being a mystery, and the fact that Titus continues to shut him down and out, Gadriel has grown distrustful of Titus. And after holding the line until the Hive Tyrant is dead, we are able to use the Astropathic Choir in the comms array. Only for the Astropath to accuse Titus of wanting to lure the Ultramarines Chapter Master back to the system to kill him, which causes a fight to break out between Gadriel and Titus, which is only ended when Chiron kills the Astropath. His reasoning is because she was clearly possessed, and the real villain of Space Marine 2 reveals himself. Amura.
How gracefully you dance!
This leads to a very fun boss fight, where Amura uses illusions and bullet hells to try and throw you off your game. It really does feel like you are fighting an exalted sorcerer of the Thousand Suns. But after a decent amount of fighting, Amura escapes, and when we get back to the ship, Acheron reveals that the Thousand Suns have begun invading a world called Demirium, which is where Luz went after we deployed in the last mission. So, we all agree that we must stop whatever project Luz is working on and stop the Thousand Suns' plan. Though before we leave, the chaplain chastises the team for their mistrust of one another and letting the enemy fuck with them. After giving out their orders to other squads, we deploy to the surface through an orbital jump, which is the coolest scene in the entire game.
Holy terror. Auspex cannot keep up with all this debris. We must navigate by sight.
We will make it. Now focus.
Brother, be careful.
After a sick-as-fuck landing, fighting through Thousand Suns forces and destroying a demonic tower, stopping our reinforcements from landing, the team makes their way to Luz's location, and although Amura is fucking with the team, we are able to blow through the Thousand Suns' defensive line, only for us to stumble upon a Necron tomb complex, and a black stone pylon. Fuck. So, now I have to explain what the fuck is going on here. Because unless you are caught up on your 40k events, this entire plot line is going to confuse tons of people. In 40k, there is a race called the Necrons, an ancient alien race that was turned into soulless automata. They create a substance called Blackstone, which disrupts the power that the Thousand Suns and their demonic allies use. Massive structures called Blackstone pylons create massive areas where the warp cannot exist, and the Imperium's leadership has been desperate to get these things to work and to defend them.
Everybody got that?
Luz, when we find him, explains that the weapon from the first game can boost the power of the Blackstone pylon, and his theory is correct, then that means the forces of chaos can be stopped wholesale. However, the other shoe drops when Amura reveals that yes, the weapon can boost the pylon's power, but it can also turn the pylon into a battery for the warp, supercharging it and making it able to tear massive holes in reality to let the forces of chaos through with no effort. Amura then kills Luz and drops the complex on top of Titus and his team, and though we survive, we dig our way into a hellscape. Imperial forces are in complete disarray, as many have been driven insane, and the Thousand Suns are appearing everywhere and anywhere, overwhelming our forces. We regroup with our forces and attempt to make a final stand in an epic cutscene, but before we are overrun, reinforcements arrive!
I've been staring at this all day, I still don't get it.
This is the leader of the Ultramarines, Marneus Calgar, who we sent a message to earlier. After regrouping with the reinforcements, Calgar leads an assault on the Thousand Suns, while the strike teams and Titus team up to move to disrupt the pylon network, which leads to the best scene of a dreadnought I dub Bob having a grand old time.
Where are the traitors?
They are everywhere.
Honored brother,
Join us, and you may sate your rage and aid our cause.
Lead me to the slaughter!
Oh my god, he's so goddamn cool!
After disrupting all the pylons, we get another cutscene where Amura retreats and Calgar and Titus' team chase after him, leading us to a trippy realm near the main pylon, and here we have our final boss fight with Amura and his greater demon buddy. During the fight, Amura will assault the player with illusions, bullet hells, and very fast attacks that can be dodged and parried. However, when he takes enough damage, he will bug out and let his demon ally attack us. You cannot hurt the demon at all, unless it's performing a specific attack where you can hit the eye. So be patient, dodge and parry well, and you will come out on top. After we beat up Amura enough, we are able to free Calgar from his illusions. We managed to defeat Amura once and for all, destroy the weapon, and banish all the forces of chaos back to the warp, with Titus waking up to Calgar and their battle brothers, declaring the former captain a hero. After all the craziness, Calgar chats with Titus and is happy to have him back, but has another mission that requires Titus. But before Titus leaves, we are shown the chaplain's true identity.
But know this, Titus. The stain of suspicion never completely fades. I will be watching you, should you falter on the path for even a moment. I will show no mercy.
Oh my god, he's bald!
Yep. Turns out that the chaplain was the asshole who sold Titus out the first game, and was responsible for Titus' exile from the chapter for over a century. Though after this reveal, Calgar, Titus, and Leandros get aboard a Thunderhawk and head off to their next battle. And that's the end of Space Marine 2. So, after 13 years, what do I think of this game? Well, the story is a complete mess. What the fuck happened to the Tyranids? That threat is still ongoing. The Thousand Suns reveal feels really weak and rushed. Amura's plan requires players to have knowledge from the books to understand what the fuck is going on, and the plot is just a rehash of the first game's plot, but instead of orcs, it's bugs, and instead of a generic Chaos Warband, it's the Thousand Suns. Characters do not have enough time to be characters. Chiron at one point has a full-on berserk rage, and it's brushed aside. Gadriel doesn't get enough time to let his suspicion of Titus grow, and we don't get any character from Luz or Amura, who are the catalysts for the entire plot. The closest we get to character growth is one scene before we do the orbital drop, and it's over just as quickly as it comes. As well, the final battle is nothing but fan service, and it feels unearned. Marnie is showing up and giving us endless praise, and having to rescue him in the end is just weak. I would have preferred if he showed up at the end only and was not a part of the final battle at all. Okay, going off script a bit here. So, I was able to watch Bricky's second video on Space Marine 2, and yeah, I agree with him a lot on his points, but I am looking at this game from the perspective of new players and newcomers who want to get into Warhammer 40k. And again, I'm going to say this, the game is amazing, it plays fantastic, Saber fucking outdid themselves with the gameplay, the music, the sound design, the art design, everything. But the story is where I have this massive problem, as it's just throwing everything at the wall, and it just abandons plot points or doesn't give it enough time to really build anything, and then also is trying to play to new players by being like a way to access the game and make the plot accessible to everyone, but also expecting those players to have knowledge about events and other things within 40k that newcomers will have no fucking knowledge about. The entire end game with Amura using the Blackstone pylons as a conduit for the warp is only within the Pariah Nexus event, a book that is like $60 to buy, and no newcomer will have any knowledge of what the fuck that even is. And even then, there are tons of 40k players that don't even know what the fuck was going on in the entire plot, because not everyone keeps up with the lore. Much like I keep up with the lore, and I was sitting here scratching my head and having to recheck some things. And if your story is making me and others who have my deep knowledge scratching our heads, your story is just all over the place and not good. Now, is it serviceable? I guess, but like, it could have been so much better. And I already had my expectations very fucking low for the entire thing. And it just left me disappointed, especially for like newcomers who are going to use this to get into Warhammer 40k, and they're just left confused about what the fuck even was that plot. It's frustrating, and I hate that it's frustrating. It could have been just a simple story about how Titus could have been just coming back to the chapter, dealing with Tyranids, and then slowly build up to a third game where the Thousand Sons were the main villains. But it's just... it's frustrating. The story is the weakest part of this game, and it's very much the same problem with Space Marine 1. Yes, the acting is great, the visuals are amazing, and the mechanics are really fun, but the story is just not there for me. 13 years later, and all we get is a rehash of the first game's plot, but this time with more fan service, which is frustrating that we waited 13 years for this. You will only ever play the campaign once, or replay it to help your friends complete it. Now again, the story is the weakest part of this game. The gameplay, the music, the visuals, the sound design are all fucking top-notch. Yes, I did have a few graphical hiccups here in the cutscenes, but those can be ironed out. Now let's talk about the multiplayer. Though all modes are extremely limited right now, they have said they will release more modes and PvE missions with each season. But my brain is going, why didn't you just have the first season's worth of stuff ready on release? But besides that, online is pretty fun. Operation missions have you and 2 others complete side missions that add extra context to the campaign missions. You pick a class for your Marine, and after completing missions, you get money and experience to level up your class. Leveling up your class gives you upgrade points, which can be used to upgrade your weapons and abilities. A major problem, though, is that money is used to purchase not only upgrades, but cosmetics, so it will lead to a problem of either looking extremely basic, but speed through your class's skill tree, or be decked out in the best looking gear and colors, but having basic skills. It would have been better if upgrade points were used for skill trees, and money was only used for cosmetics. However, PvE and PvP are connected, so whatever cosmetics you unlock in PvE, you also unlock for PvP and vice versa. PvP, however, only rewards experience and money, and you have to unlock weapons over time. The PvP also doesn't feel finished, but it's still extremely fun. In PvP, guns have to do damage to shields before they can start doing damage to health, but melee attacks bypass shields, leading to a system of risk versus reward, which I think is an amazing idea for gameplay. Each class feels unique, and it comes down to developing better strategies and skills rather than spamming one class. With the focus on multiplayer, we will be seeing way more options for maps, customization, and more PvE missions down the line. So we will see where the game is at in 6 months. All in all, if you are a fan of Warhammer 40k, I can safely recommend this game to you. But if you aren't into Warhammer 40k, I would recommend holding off and waiting for a price drop. With such a weak campaign and very little to the multiplayer, you will get bored pretty fast until the newer modes come out. However, I ain't your mother, and if you want to join in on the fun, there is room for everyone aboard the ship. If you want to watch me play Space Marine 2, consider subbing to my YouTube and following my Twitch. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and we talk about Warhammer and other tabletop games. And if you want to catch my reviews a week early, consider becoming a patron. It helps keep the lights on and puts food on the table. And when we come back, we will be heading into the spookiest time of the year. Ha ha ha! So I'll see you all next time.